the classroom. Well, Mrs. C is in such a good mood today. I really am popping with pride. Your effort yesterday, well, it was utterly adorable, and you're here and you've turned up again, and you are most welcome. I am truly honoured to be your writing teacher, and we're not expecting things to be perfect. But what I can feel from yesterday, we're putting in the hard effort, and that's what I can notice. So together, we're going to work hard to make sure our writing is the very best it can be. So welcome to the writing classroom. Hashtag English with Mrs. C. Let's get started. Okay, you do know my name now, and actually I got to learn some of your names yesterday, and there was some the remarkable quality of work. It was absolutely stunning, and we're going to celebrate some of that actually. Now, we've got a little slogan. Some of you are better at remembering it than I am, but this is all about our mode of working. We are going to bring our hard thinking to it, and we're going to work, and you know I like lickety splitting. We're going to work quite quickly, and I'm training you as we go. So it's pens up, think at pace, jot quick, writing's ace. And it was ace yesterday. Now, just a little reminder, I did this yesterday, but just tuning you into the importance of time. Every second counts, and we're going to use it really wisely. These are the important times in this session. First things first, 45 seconds. It is not long. That is all of your time. That is where you can glimmer and show me what you can do by yourselves. It's not long. I don't want to leave you lonely for too long, but use that chunk of time wisely to get all of your original ideas down. If you're with an adult or in a bubble, you can chat, and that is fine, but I want you to jot as well and bring in chatting and jotting together. That's a chart. If you're on your own, you can talk to your teddy bears, but I need you to jot. Okay, another thing we're going to do today that's important is an audit and add. That's when Mrs. C shows her words. You tick off the ones you've got and use it as a time to add and borrow ones that you like and you feel connected to. And the third thing is writing. Now, 3 minutes is longer than you think. Okay, so think about it carefully and use the time carefully to craft and construct writing that you're truly proud of. Okay, so who made it to the celebration wall? Well, I was inundated, and this was a tough choice, but I'm doing a big shout out for this child, Sutan, who's got a gorgeous popping off thinking side and has words like hazy and promptly and hastily. But look at this sentence, taking the structure of the scaffold but going beyond it and lacing it with all of their own ideas. This child is from St. Stephen's Junior School. Have a listen to this. This little moment here. As soon as the sun descended out of sight, a mysterious, misty fog materialised and drifted downwards, blocking the sight of the 3 travellers on board. Oh, so well crafted. And because we've got going, we can now share sentences from all over the globe in terms of building our story, our big community story. So a big shout out to Freya in year 5 from Brundle Primary School. She has very cleverly laced her writing with a fishing pun. Look at how she's used the word reeled. They're out on a boat. It's really clever. Look, as the evening reeled in, a blinding fog formed and consumed the ocean all around them. Oh, Freya, just great language. And then we had William's work sent in by Roxanne, his mum. And I love the way he kind of stacks the comparative straight next to the superlative. And it's got that alliterative sense coming through, mistier and murkier. And then Alfie, she struggled to see beyond the end of her cold, wet nose. Thank you, Alfie in year 4. Great stuff, great work. Okay, so here we go. We are now thinking about getting ready for writing. We've got to lay our work out correctly because we want to build vocabulary vaults that are rich in words that we can lean on to move over to our writing side. So I'm going to show you now on the thinking side we have, and this Mrs. C doesn't mind if this is on a piece of paper. Mrs. C doesn't mind if it's in a book. But if it's a piece of paper, fold it. If it's a book, make sure you're on a double page spread. And we always work in learning chunks. This is learning chunk 1, this is learning chunk 2, and this is learning chunk 3. I also ask you to cut each learning chunk in half so we build 2 word bank spaces, word bank 1, word bank 2. And you'll hear me say in the lesson, we are now moving to learning chunk 2 and we'll work always in 2 word banks. Now, the other thing we do to help you is on the screen when it's time to jot, we'll put up a picture like this and we'll put the colour yellow in the word bank space you need to work in. So if we're on learning chunk 1, word bank 1, we'll make it yellow. And that is for you as the learner, so you know exactly what you're doing. We're here to make your writing better. And by the time you finish working with me over this time, you'll be able to see and feel your confidence, your choices, and your writing precision will have improved. Okay, so we always work with narrative maps and we are writing a central character story. We're taking Erin through this story and she is our central character. And we're thinking about the highs and lows of the writing. Now, yesterday, because the fog had descended, we were working right here on plot point 1 for -5ness. So this sort of, it was negative and it was scary. Now I'm letting you know all of our writing today is built around plot point 2, but it gets worse. We are now pushing lower down to -7. What happens in our writing when the impact on the central character is lower? We have to think about more negative language, and that's where our thinking for writing is going to be today. Okay, everybody, I'm going to zoom you into the image from The Secret of Black Rock, and I'm going to show you really clearly where all of our writing is going to be built. Okay, and we are just here at this moment. Okay, now what I think we might need to do before we do the writing is I am going to give you some time. Now you know where our thinking is, to get your work, your thinking side and your writing side ready. I'm going to put 30 seconds on the clock so that you're ready for writing. Okay, so we're thinking about plot point 2. Yesterday we had fog. Today, right in front of them. And remember, Erin is on board and her mum doesn't even know. And in front of them is this enormous rock, a really tall, ominous, scary rock. And the boat is heading towards it. This is where our thinking is. And what I want to do now is tune your thinking into where our writing is going to be crafted. We are going to push our writing through 3 lenses. And what are those lenses today? We're going to focus firstly on the sense of sight. And we did that yesterday, and that's why it's coming back. We're going to practice that again. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to build a simile. And if you look at this gorgeous symbol here, it's got the equals sign on it. So as a writer, we're going to take one item, one object, and we're going to compare it to something else it is equal to. And that's going to be our thinking, and down the line, our writing. And the third area we're going to look at is inner thought. Okay, so here we go. We are on Learning Chunk 1, Word Bank 1, and I am thinking very specifically about the sense of sight. I'm thinking about the size of this rock. Now, what I'm going to use to help me is the Shadometer. The Shadometer is a really good place to gather words in a synonym family. It's also a really good place to turn up the intensity. And actually, I want words to describe the size. My first idea is the large rock. Now, if I think about making that larger, more intense, taller, bigger, probably right up at the top of the scale could be this word, tremendous. It can be used in lots of ways, but it can be used in relation to size. Now, I know, but I need your help. Between large and tremendous, there's loads of words. And I wonder how many we can come up with. If I go back to Learning Chunk 1, Word Bank 1, and write in large and tremendous, I'm going to ask you now to jot. And I'm going to ask you to come up with, in the next 45 seconds, as many words that mean large. Off you go. I've been really thinking about this, and words I like are, I've got to think about where I place them. Giant. I also like colossal. Colossal's quite hard to spell, but remember it has a double S. Colossal. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock now. I'm going to add some more words in while you're working too. And I want you to audit and add. Off you go. You might have noticed me there adding words in on the Shadometer scale. I'm trying to get words of the right intensity. I really do want this rock to be colossal, humongous, enormous, and I'm thinking about the best word for the job. What I want to do now is actually collect negative adjectives. Other words about the sense of sight. Particularly now I'm thinking about Erin looking up at the rock. It not only is humongous, tremendous, and I don't know now if tremendous is a little bit positive actually, because we need to create a negative atmosphere. But I'm now going to think of other words in terms of how I can describe it. This is a really good idea. The sinister rock. I'm going to write that down. Yes, sinister. The other idea I had, I'm just going to read that again. Sinister. Oh, Mrs. C sometimes does have to look at her spelling because she does make silly spelling mistakes. But if you're brave, it should never stop you from coming up with ideas. Just remember, just to check in and re-look and think. Sinister. I'm not afraid of crossing out. You shouldn't be either. That's what the best writers do, of course. Another thing is this really grown-up word. I know you might have another idea that's linked to this. I'm going to write down craggy. The craggy rock. Now, I'm going to put 45 seconds on the clock. I think you could get other words in the sinister family. And I also think you could get some other words in the craggy family so that it's all pointy and the appearance of it. And sinister, you know, that it's dark and looming. Oh, I think you're going to come up with some really good ideas. Thank you, Jotters. Off you go. One of the words I thought about then in the sinister family is eerie. This is a really unusual word. Look how it's spelt, eerie. It's not many words in the English language that begin with double E, but it's really good. And the other word that I thought would be good in the craggy family, all the pointy rocks, is rugged. Now, I'm going to give you some audit and add time. If you've already got some of these words, you can tick them off. I'm going to use the time as well to add some to the list. Off you go. I think this is really good preparation for writing because it means we can pick up a size adjective and a negative adjective and place them together in the writing, and they're bringing different things to the noun. So I could have, for example, the humongous, threatening rock. I could have the huge, jagged rock. I could have the colossal, ominous rock. Oh, they are all just practically perfect. Now, what I want us to do is move to the second word bank. And this time we are going to think very closely about verbs. Now, I need to build verbs in here that show the action of the rock. And this is really tricky because this is going to be a different action. The rock is stoic. The rock is still. The rock isn't moving in terms of how we might think about that sort of racy, runny action. So we need words that show that sort of the stance of the rock. And I need them to be really strong and I need them to be really dominant. The sort of thing I'm thinking about is a word I've actually already said and I don't want to forget about it. The rock loomed. Loomed almost feels like it kind of stood there looking down, overshadowing. Oh, there's a few ideas in there actually. I'm going to write down loomed and then I'm going to write in this section where it says personification. I could almost make the rock have human attributes. I could put the rock looked down. The rock stared down. Oh, I like that. Another really good verb, because I've just said it naturally out loud with an ing on the end actually, but overshadowed. I'm going to write that down. Overshadowed. And can you see how they're still verbs but there's no movement? I'm going to challenge you now in this jot to come up with a strong verb to show that the rock is, holding its own in the ocean. And then maybe a personification, thinking about the rock as a human, something that a human would do that we could apply to the rock. This is you glimmering your writing talent. You've got 45 seconds. Okay, we're going to audit and add. Just before we do, I've had some more ideas for the verbs. This is a really good one. I like it. I'm going to write it down. Towered. The rock towered, because it brings in that size association again. And then this other idea I had about the rock waited. Almost like a human is waiting for somebody or something. I'm going to add words while you audit and add, and if you've already got it, you can add a tick. If not, add it in. Off you go. And don't think I don't notice when I see photographs of your work where you have inserted your own ideas. I really do notice. Oh, you're working so hard. We're going to move over now to writing side. And you're going to see Mrs. C talk out loud the writer's thinking. You're going to look inside the writer's brain and you're going to see two things at once. My ideas unrolling on the page as I choose. Sometimes I reject. Sometimes I improve. Sometimes I make spelling mistakes. But I'm brave and I know that I want my composition to be strong and then I can go back and check it. So we're moving over to writing side, and as we move over, I want now to start with this sense of urgency that almost the rock is upon Erin all at once. All at once. That's a really good chunk of language there, all at once. That adverbial there showing us it's happening suddenly. I'm going to write that down. All at once. All at once. All of a sudden. Maybe I prefer that. All of a sudden. What about without warning? Oh, I'm now spoilt for choice. Without warning. That would work as well. They're all good, actually. These are all good examples of that instantaneousness. I'm going to choose, I think, suddenly. Suddenly. Comma. Always a comma after an adverb or an adverbial phrase. Now I'm going to go suddenly size. Suddenly negative adjective. Suddenly a, oh, they're all good. A colossal. Oh, this is interesting. If I choose enormous, I then have to change that to an because you can't have those two vowels snuggling up to each other. I don't know what I'm going to choose yet. Actually, I like huge. A huge. Suddenly, a huge. And I don't think I'm going to have an and. I'm just going to do it like a little list. Suddenly, a huge. Eerie, ominous. Maybe I don't need that there. I'm just going to have them work together. A huge, ominous. Ominous. Tricky one that. A lot of people put an N there. A huge, ominous shape. Now your verb. Huge, ominous shape. Towered would be good. Huge, ominous shape eclipsed the hazy sun. It's hazy because the fog's there. The fading sun. A huge, ominous shape loomed. Now, some of these verbs need to be placed in the environment. You might want to use loomed over, loomed in. You might want to say, some of them don't need a preposition at all. They can just be there. Threatened the boat. Doesn't need to be placed. I think loom does need a preposition. A huge, ominous shape loomed in the boat's path. It belongs to the boat's path, full stop. I'm going to leave you now for 3 minutes of writing. I want you to use my words like a structure, but I want you to inject them with your words. Off you go. I can't wait to read your work. We're working down there at -7 negativity, and we'll be able to feel that through your choices of adjective and verbs. Okay, we're moving now to learning chunk 2, word bank 1, and I'm so pleased we're doing this. I love writing similes. I love those techniques that are really creative. And you can see here the simile symbol has an equal sign on it. We're going to think about things that are similar and comparative. Okay, so we've got the rock. This rock is black. It is black and looming and threatening. And I want us to think about now other items, other objects, animals that are also the colour black. I've got some ideas there with some images, but my first idea for an animal is raven. I'm going to write that down, raven. Something that isn't an animal, but I'm going to write it down, is onyx. Onyx is a stone, and it is black. Onyx. Now, they're my two ideas. I'm going to take you straight into a jot. How many animals can you think of that are black? How many other items? Off you go. Oh, well done, those people who were looking at the picture clues. That was clever. I'm now going to audit and add. Watch closely as you can tick off the ones you've got that are the same as Mrs. C, but if they're different and you like them, you can add them. Audit and add. Oh, there's some great ideas there. Oh, I really like coal, actually. You know, coal, fossil fuel, fossilised trees and earth. That's a really good choice there, Mrs. C. Well done. Okay, we're going to move now, actually, to our second word bank. And similes inordinately improve if we add more detail, precision, detail. This is where the magic of writing can really happen, where we can take something that's obvious, but we can get it to leap off the page in how we surround extra information. And that's what I want us to think about now. So this is the sort of thing I mean. I'm going to take one of my comparisons. So let me have a look. I like all of them. I do like panther for my animal, but I'm going to take actually vulture. Now, this is what I want you to think about next. In a minute, I want you to choose one animal. And then I want you to choose one object or item or something else. Now, I've chosen vulture for my animal, and I'm going to then drop in a negative adjective. So I'm trying to build this -7 atmosphere. So it's a vulture, and I'm going to write hungry vulture, hungry vulture. I'm not going to leave it there. I'm going to add some more information that still keeps the negativity. A hungry vulture moving around its prey. Moving around sounds a bit informal, a little bit babyish. A hungry vulture circling, that's better. Circling, I still get the movement in there. Circling for prey. Prey spelt like that, a little creature to kill. I'm going to take another item. I like these. Let me see what I've got here. I'm going to take, I think, chains. I'm going to put an adjective before chains, and I'm going to add in some extra detail after chains. Dungeon chains. Dungeon chains. And you'll notice here, then I drop this verb, tightening. It's got an ing on the end. Look, circling, tightening. And then it doesn't really matter how it ends. Tightening on a prisoner's wrist. That's really good. Negative. Look at that. That unpronounced letter there, wrist. Dungeon chains tightening on a prisoner's wrist. What I want you to do now in this jot, you haven't got long. I want you to choose one animal, one other object, negative adjective, followed by a negative verb, adding extra detail. Off you go, jotters. Okay, straight now to audit and add, and you're going to see my thinking of choosing another animal and another object. See if you can work on another one too. Off you go. Okay, come over with me now to the writing side. We're going to be thinking about a simile to compare the rock, its blackness to other things in nature and the world. And I'm going to start like this, and you can start like this too. It was a rock. And then there are many ways you can do similes, but we are going to use the add. I don't mean add Mrs. C, I mean as link to add it on. It was a rock as black as. It's that double as construction. It was a rock as black as. Now, I'm going to take a bat, but I'm going to pluralise them. I'm going to have a group of bats. It was a rock as black as bats. Now, I've not followed my own system there because I want to put in an adjective. I want them to be wild and crazy and kind of moving, this whole colony of bats moving quickly. It was almost like frenetic. It was a rock as black as disturbed bats. Something's disturbed them, that's why they're moving quickly. Escaping a cave. Now, the problem with the cave is it's too similar to the rock, I think. I want to move it further away. Escaping at dusk. I'm going to read that back. Do I like it? It was a rock as black as disturbed bats, escaping frenetically. Now, do you think I can spell frenetically? Now, you need to be a brave speller. Don't ever worry if you can't spell a word. Write it down. You can check it later. That's what I'm going to do. Frenetically. There's something about it that I'm not sure, so I'm going to put that as a little reminder. I'm going to send you off to write now. You've got 3 minutes. I'm zinging with excitement to read your similes, and I wonder if you've got any words like frenetically in your work, frenetically, frantically, quickly, all of those words in that synonym family. Okay, we are now moving to learning chunk 3. Come with me. We're going to be working on word bank 1. And what we're going to do now, because it is so desperate, so scary, and Erin really shouldn't be on that boat. She can see the rock is getting closer and their boat is heading towards it. I want her inner thoughts splattered out loud in this moment, that she says her thoughts out loud, and they're urgent and they're high crisis. And I want us to get ready for writing in 2 distinct ways. I want one of the thoughts, to be based on that sort of strong emotion, strong feelings. And we're going to show that strength of feeling by using an exclamation mark, okay? And the other thing I want us to do, and we often do this when we feel really desperate and challenged, I want us to ask a question. It's almost asking a question of ourselves about how we're going to get out of this mess. So the first place we're going to think hard is something that I can put an exclamation mark at the end because it's got strength of feeling in it. This is my first idea. I want you to imagine you're Erin. The rock is getting closer. You think you might crash. We're going to crash. Now, notice how we're saying we're. Because it is Erin's chat in her head, but it's said out loud, it is informal. So I'm going to take we are, I'm going to drop that A, I'm going to push it together, and I'm going to use the contracted form. We're going to crash. It's urgent, it's strong, exclamation mark. We're then going to follow it with a question, so it's like, straight up behind it. What is going to happen? What shall we do? What on earth? What shall we do? Now, I want you now in jotting time to come up with your inner thoughts spoken out loud with an exclamation mark, and then also a question. I want to see what you can do by yourselves. Off you go. Right, you didn't have long, but I know you're going to be really good at that. I can't wait to read those. Okay, we're going to move straight to an audit and add. I'm going to add more. You're going to add more. Off you go. Well, your ideas are popping off the page, aren't they? Right, word bank 2. And now we don't want to move off that negative atmosphere we're trying to create. And we're going to collect how adverbs, how she's feeling actually, and they're going to end in ly. And it's how she's saying these words, it's all that emotion injected into this adverb. The sort of thing I'm thinking of is words like apprehensively and anxiously. But as I write those down, I don't know whether they're strong enough. I wonder if you can imagine a shadometer in your mind. Can you turn up the intensity of those words? Off you go, jotters. You're getting so good at this. See how we're picking up the pace. We're going to audit and add now. Watch closely to the words I'm going to add and tick them off if you've got them, but add them in if you like them. Okay, we're going to move to writing side and you're going to move with me. And what we're going to do now is look very closely at your last word. So my last word was dusk and then there was a full stop. We are going to inject some dialogue in the story. It is her out loud inner thoughts. So I'm going to start a new line. You're going to start a new line with me. And notice here that that's where I place the beginning of the inverted commas. Now, we are going to do exactly this and we are going to choose a strong emotion statement ending in an exclamation mark. Then we're going to include a question straight after, and then we're going to make sure we drop in our negative how adverb. Watch closely Mrs. C talking you through the writer's brain. Watch, and then you'll have time to write. Here we go. Oh no, that feels really urgent. Finish with an exclamation mark. What on earth am I going to do now? Going to do now? Question mark. What on earth am I going to do now? I'm going to close off those inverted commas, and then I'm going to show the reader that it's her thoughts out loud. Thought Erin out loud. Oh, nearly made a mistake there. Capital letter for her name. Thought Erin out loud. And I'm going to finish with thought Erin out loud. Hopelessly is good. Hysterically is good. Desperately. Oh, I like all of these. Desperately. Okay, writers. I want you to make sure you start a new line for this spoken inner thought part. Off you go. I love it when you can just get your writing to infuse through rereading, and then sometimes you find the silliest of mistakes. But that's what good writers do. Okay, let's read what we've done today. Suddenly, a huge dark shape loomed in the boat's path. It was a rock as black as disturbed bats escaping at dusk, frenetically escaping at dusk. Oh no, what on earth am I going to do now? Thought Erin out loud, desperately. I can't wait to read your work. And remember, when I say a clear photograph, it needs to be crystal clear and in focus. Now, some of your teachers and mums and dads need to hold a camera less shakily, but you can have a little chat with them about that. You know how to get your work into me. You hashtag it English with Mrs. C, and you know I'm out there in social media, on Twitter and on Facebook, and if you hashtag it, I will find it. You can get a grown-up to help you. I am so proud of your work already, and tomorrow when we meet at the same time, 9:45, we'll be speeding things up. See you tomorrow.